demonstrated again why his handlers don't like to let him out into public when he was speaking at the graduating ceremony of the Coast Guard Academy.
I can only assume that you will enjoy educating your family about how the Coast Guard is, quote, the hard nucleus around the Navy formed in times of war. You're a really dull class. Like, come on, man. Is the sun getting to you?
Yes, that's the Commander-in-Chief insulting the Coast Guard for not laughing at what he thought was a funny joke. That wasn't the only time he had a little episode this week. However, here he is test driving Ford's new electric pickup truck, the Lightning.
You ready?
Mr. President, can I ask you a quick question on Israel before you drive
No,
away?
you can't. Not unless you get in front of the car as I step on it. I'm only teasing. Okay, here we go. You ready?
That wasn't very funny, Joe. Not to mention, it wasn't presidential at all. But in old Joe's defense, I'm tired of hearing about it too, and I couldn't care less either way about two different ethnic groups halfway around the world having a land dispute that's drug on for generations. I care about America and what's happening to our country and our culture. Of course, the neocons would love nothing more than to get our country involved in another war in the Middle East. And did you see the new CIA recruitment videos and the Army recruitment videos where they're looking for new social justice warriors to join the armed forces? Well, here's the commercial from Russia's military.
Вопросы могут остаться без ответов, но разве ты сумел узнать тебя? Познать границы своих возможностей. К черту границы, а без боя нет победы. Но на самом деле...
I don't speak Russian, so I don't know what they're saying, but I noticed that none of them had a rainbow nose ring, and I doubt that any of those soldiers were adopted and raised by two lesbians. If you didn't get that joke, well, actually it wasn't a joke. If you didn't get that reference, then you missed the Army's new recruitment ad because, well, I don't have time to explain it to you. Try to keep up. Aside from recruiting more woke gender non-binary people, the U.S. Army is also prioritizing climate change. They just updated their website to let us know that they are addressing the climate change threat. To prepare for the challenges ahead, the Army will continue to identify and implement steps to enhance readiness and capability in the face of climate-related threats. Don't worry about cybersecurity or things like that. I mean, it's not like hackers are going to shut off a pipeline and cause the entire East Coast to run out of gas. Meanwhile, the liberal media is a broken record, and almost every day, every show starts with them talking about January 6th and the insurrection.
Don't send me your, are you still talking about the insurrection? Yes, and we're going to continue to talk about it. So don't waste your finger energy, don't waste your breath, don't waste your time. It's important. I'm going to keep talking about it.
They've been talking about it literally every day, every show for the last almost 4 months, and they're going to be talking about it every day, every show, literally for the next 4 years. In other news, singer Demi Lovato has announced that that they is gender non-binary, which means that they is neither a man nor a woman, they is neither, and that their preferred pronouns is they and them. Are you following me? NBC News reports Demi Lovato comes out as non-binary and changes pronouns to they and them, writing on Twitter, quote, "Today is the day I'm so happy to share more of my life with you all." No thanks, I've already heard too much already. Just so you know, it's literally a violation of Twitter's terms of service and probably Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the rest to use the wrong pronoun when describing or talking about a certain individual once they have announced their preferred pronouns. It's called misgendering, and if you now call Demi Lovato a woman or refer to Demi Lovato as a she, then you are violating the terms of service. And now the reboot of Sex and the City on HBO Plus will introduce a gender non-binary character as well. You may recall back in 2017, the MTV Movie Awards went genderless, trying to promote this idea, and then they highlighted a completely unknown actress, an actor, but a person who acts, a gender non-binary person whose pronouns are they and them, called Asia Kate Dillon, and that idea never really took off, but here we are, 4 years later. Now, Demi Lovato, pretty big star, at least was, now promoting this idea. So definitely not a trend, not a fad. This is a mission. This is a religion for them. Do you remember when Facebook first changed their gender options from male and female to 58 different gender options? That was in 2014. That was 7 years ago. And now in 2021, PBS is airing Drag Queen Story Hour aimed at children 3 to 8 years old.
Hi, everybody. My name is Little Miss Hot Mess, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. I am a drag queen and a children's book author. And you may be wondering to yourself, what on earth is a drag queen? Well, don't worry, because I'm going to tell you. Drag queens, we are everyday people. So today I am going to read from my own book, The Hips on the Drag Queen Go Swish, Swish, Swish. And I wrote this book because I wanted everyone to get to experience the magic of drag and to get a little practice shaking their hips or shimmying their shoulders.
Remember back in the Obama administration, it wasn't that long ago, and all they wanted, they said, was for the right to be married. And now they want your 3-year-old boy to dress in drag. All hope is not lost. However, did you see the video of that 10-year-old boy telling off his school board about their mask mandates? Well, there's another video of another kid at another school, and she's even younger.
And I don't think barely anybody likes masks in schools. Their children are suffocating. You don't know what it feels like, and just, it's nonsense. Seriously. Like, why would you do that? Why in the world would you do that? And God created us so we can be free people. And we're not being free here or at public schools, okay? So I would take your masks off if I were you. And I'm not wearing a mask right now, and I never will as much as I can. And George Washington made America so we could be free citizens of the United States of America. And the Statue of Liberty is for liberty and freedom, and we're not free. So maybe you just don't believe in George Washington or God, or like the boss of you or someone is controlling you. Stand up and take these masks off these children. Don't be afraid. And we voted you to be the school board members we wanted you to be. Okay, so please make the schools better, not worse.
You know, when the 8-year-olds are smarter than the teachers, it's time to make a change in society. And to celebrate the mask mandate finally falling apart, save 20% off of any of my shirts from markdice.com by using the promo code PARTYTIME at the checkout. So get yourself an I Love Global Warming tank top, a Trump 2024 shirt, a Liberalism Find a Cure shirt, or any of my awesome designs by going to markdice.com or click the link in the description below, enter the promo code PARTYTIME at the checkout. Party time, one word at the checkout, and check them out.
YouTube. I've got a huge following of 1,200. So you know, I'm only a year into the YouTube thing, but I met you last year towards the end of the summer, I think. and you remember. So that's very kind of you. This is Danny. Is it Shine? Yep. What's her name? Danny Shine. And what the hell is what's your channel called?
My Social Experimenters.
That's it. I should remember. Social Experimenters. Fantastic guy. I've listened to a lot of his stuff. However, I've come a long way since I started listening to Danny Shine, and I've found out things that that we don't agree on, which is cool. One thing we were just talking about, Danny was talking about, I want to let him expand on, is the idea that we are, well, in your words, a blight. Is that right? A blight on the planet?
Well, I don't particularly concentrate on that. What I would say is that what I've come to discover is I think that we are poop machines.
Yeah.
We are walking poop.
Creating manure.
Singing and dancing. Poop machines. And the only thing, if you pan around here, the only thing that's consistently being produced by these people here is poop, right? Poop.
Out the back door, do you mean, or verbal poop and
well,
spiritual poop?
as well? I mean, loads of verbal poop, right?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, I'm talking about excretion. These people are all going to dump probably once at least.
At least once today.
Like me, more than that,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
I personally produce a huge amount.
We're literally full of shit. It's fair to say, yeah. And I'm not being unkind when I say that, but we eat and it turns into shit, and it doesn't all come out on day one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think we are, and that's why I think the idea of reproduction, even though I've done it 3 times, is insane on so many levels. It's insane and immoral on so many levels. And one of the reasons is because of this realization that I've only come to really in the past year. Various realizations. One of them is that we are poop machines. Fundamentally, and therefore, why are we bringing poop machines in? And as I said to you before, that there is a place on the planet, right, where you and I have exclusive holdings of our poop, in little bags of nappies, non-biodegradable nappies. Somewhere on the planet, there's a pile of poop of yours,
my name on
mine, and a pile of poop of your children's names on my children's names. And like, why are we bringing in more of that? That's just where it started. That's just the beginning of that.
Okay. Yeah.
And then of course there's I don't know what happens to all the poop that we do the rest of our life if it gets broken down or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the first realization. But I think where I've come to is I've always been quite reluctant to think of when people speak about enlightenment and being awake. I always felt very uncomfortable. But I actually think that I've been, I would say, in a way, unfortunate
to work it out.
Stumbled across the threat to work out what's going on, right? And my understanding now is that first you work out and you see that life itself is about exploitation. Yeah, it's DNA replicating itself, and in order to replicate itself, nature doesn't give a toss about what happens. It doesn't give a toss about whether you get cancer or your children are born with 2 heads or there's a tsunami. It doesn't care anything. It doesn't care about so you've got nature bringing you into this exploitation. Yeah. My children, the minute they're born, they start being exploited by their parents. Oh, lovely cuddle. That's exploitation.
Be a good boy.
Right? And they're exploiting their parents. Crying, all that exploitation goes on for years. Even after children are older, they're still exploiting their parents. Right? And then there's the exploitation of the animals. All the meat-eating people. They're all exploiting thousands of animals per human being's life.
Wow.
So they're being exploited.
Wow.
They're exploiting all the natural resources. Exploiting the earth, natural resources. Even plants. Some people say.
But
we have to much. So the whole design of this game. A virtual reality game.
Okay.
It's brilliant and incredibly, profoundly brilliant, profoundly stupid.
And so you're saying for me,
welcome, guys.
I'm going to pass on my...
I'm Speaker's Corner, obviously.
I'm going to...
From Danny and
you'll enjoy those incredible moments that we share together. I'm going to help shape this person in this moment to contribute greatly to society. I'm going to take great pleasure knowing that my children have gone on to make the world a better place. But I don't want anybody else to love them. Because that's having lived it for me, and I even saying I have a child.
And we can't curtail our... Yeah. And this is Danny's thing. I like it. It's cool. Hi guys.
I like it all, but I like the funny stuff.
Hi friends. I'm doing the breathing. Hey John. Squirrel.
Don't forget, I am just sharing an idea. Number two, I no longer spend most of my life eating vegan. You could argue that when I speak about say vegan, you say, oh, wait a minute, you had a really nice life, you had 40 years of chomping away at all those steaks, but you don't want meat, right? That's only because at the time I didn't know what I knew now. If I'd have known what I know now, I wouldn't have.
We would really say that you wouldn't have had your children.
If I knew, let me understand what I'm saying. If I knew what I know now, I would explain to you in a minute. I do. Then I wouldn't have had children. What's that going to sound to you? Well, because I'll tell you.
They probably heard this before, I would thought.
They've heard it many times before. It's not because. Hold on a second. It's not. Listen, I'm happy to say on camera that I have been extremely fortunate in life.
There you go.
Extremely fortunate to a degree that I don't even know anybody at all. That my three children are not just healthy. They are extremely talented, very, very bright. You know, they're not too beautiful. They know how to really get to that. You know, they're okay. They're quite well mentally balanced, considering they've got a dad like me, right? The reason why I say I wouldn't have had children had I have known what I know now is not because I'm saying had I have known that they were. It's nothing to do with them. It's to do with the understanding that I have now. The ideas, the questions that I have now, right? Now, all those beautiful moments are very beautiful, but they do not justify what I have brought here. For example, I can give you lots and lots of good reasons. I'll come back to that in a second, right? But just to let you know that you didn't come here, I am advocating stopping reproduction. Yeah, and further than that, I am involved in creating new political parties to solve that problem and to make reproduction
Reproduction illegal. You're a crazy man.
Yeah.
That's a human right. Of course, and
what do you mean it's a human right?
Of course, I agree that you.
We've lost our way. We've lost our idea of what we are. I'm going to just do some artwork right now. I'm going to do a little bit of art here. Actually. How are you guys doing? I think it's been a couple of weeks since I was here. I was hoping for a clearer day, you know, because it's always nice to be able to show the folks the moon at the right time of the month. There's something about, they say there's something about people who write, like I've written in different kind of fonts here. Hey, that's a little odd, I guess. But you know, it's quite an adrenaline thing coming out here. Don't get me wrong. It's not like this isn't quite what I had in mind. Anyway. I can't really stop and read comments just now. I hope that you are all well. That's a fake space. I did some tagging on the way up here because there's actually a Robbie Williams concert. There's a Robbie Williams concert going on here, so I tagged all the walkways up here. Well, not all the walkways, so some, and that's really good. You know, it's great when you get like a bunch of, you know, you got a footfall. Like where I just put this now, you can see all the people kind of coming this way. So hopefully I'll catch their attention. I'm always thinking about what to write, you know. And the thing is that NASA fake space is obviously like. I heard someone say when I did it earlier, I heard someone say, yeah, they had to do it to beat the Russians, you know, it's all that lie. So I like to add Earth is flat because it really does stop people in their tracks, annoyed or whatever, you know. Danny's an interesting guy. I've watched him before I knew much, but you know, sometimes you end up knowing more than, or going beyond the teacher's level. I'd like to think that that's what's happened here. Let's just put this. Earth. Not a ball. Yeah, the Earth is flat, darling. You know. Yes. Go, girl. Oh, how about that? You can hear people reading it, man. Let's just give this a little bit more accent. Danny's quoting the Bible. I can hear him quoting the Bible. The Bible says the earth is not a ball. Or rather, it never talks about a ball. I don't think that that's much clearer. I need to add a little bit of white to that. I'm gonna... Yeah, I'm telling you guys, this chalk thing, if you've got the time, get these big chalks and go and hit the roads, man. You know, it can stay until it rains, you know. Hello, bro. Thank you. Thank you. I'll do that. I was wondering about that. That's helpful. Cheers, bro. That's cool. How about that? Sphere. Unless we're talking about the electromagnetic universe theory, which I really ascribe to. I think it's fantastic. Sorry, man, I nearly walked into you. That's a fake space. Earth not a ball. Or sphere. She's just walked on my artwork. Oh, lovely. There you go. Oh, look, there's a lot of people going up that way. I might need to move. Hey, Danny. I'll see you later. I'll catch up with you later. I think that walkway there is even busier. Maybe I'll get to that in a little while. Still a bit early at the Speaker's Corner. Yeah, look at this. Danny's misled. I think if you listen back to this, Danny, I think you've got much to learn about the truth about your divinity and the purpose here. However, his purpose may well be to discourage people from having children, because it might be fair to say that some people are not adding the highest of vibrations. So, you know, I don't want to be the one to tell people not to have children, but I do get the point that, you know, we aren't, as a collective, all of us working in the same vibration, but this is maybe just a part of that anyway. So, just a little bit more artwork here. I think this is going to go quite nicely. Same kind of A this time. How about this?
Sorry, buddy. Hello.
Hi. No chalk?
No chalk.
Since when?
Since the Royal Park. It's big no.
Oh, I've used chalk loads of times.
Yeah, because I wasn't here to stop. Can't do it, buddy.
Oh man, that's unfair. Yeah. You know what I'm trying to write here?
Yeah, I know what you're trying to write here. Can't do it in the Royal Park.
Does it trouble you that the government might be lying to us about pretty much everything? And in the case of NASA, if they're faking space, it's costing the taxpayer $100 million a day in world taxes.
I'm quite aware of little things that are going on behind all kinds of governments.
Yeah. Well, for me, I used to be in the military. I marched past the Queen at Remembrance Day as a veteran, despite my accent. And yeah. Oh, fantastic. I'm Dave. Sorry about the chalk, Steve. I'm Durban.
Oh, right, so you're wife's born Joe Berg.
Okay.
All our family with Dan George.
Oh, really? Nice, no, George. Beautiful. Love it. Love it. Yeah, I've spent some time in Plettenberg Bay. My wife's from Cape Town. Yeah, and have you been up the Transkei as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we just booked our tickets just last week on the road trip.
Awesome.
Drakensberg.
Oh man, that's my place. That's where I'm from. So, yeah.
I want to do the Battlefield as well.
Really? Islandwana and all the British ones, you mean? Yeah.
Just that side. I mean, I've done a lot of the Western Cape, so the Eastern Cape I haven't really seen a lot of it.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me just grab my chalk here. I don't want to lose it. Yeah, I've been here 25 years. I was born here, actually. My parents migrated to South Africa when I was 6 months old.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing my national service. I felt like a South African kid. You know, I grew up there, did my national service, ended up in Angola in the tank battles in 1987. Wrote a book about it 5-6 years ago. Ended up, you know, giving a copy of the book to Prince Harry. You know, it turned out to be like a whole change of, you know, like direction. Just 5-6 years ago, I was working for the government, and then people come to me and say, you know, your battles were staged. Like the battles that I was in were pre-arranged by both American and Russian advisors in that thing. So that's quite a huge slap in the face for me. And then you start finding that other battles, like, say, for example, the Vietnam War was started by a false flag attack, in the Gulf of Tonkin. They admit that now. They attack themselves and they go to war. And this is what we've been doing all along. Steve, this is what we've been doing all along to humanity. And so it became beholden on me once I learned of this to start telling people that, heck, nothing is what you think it is, And I'm not trying to call out the bad of that. I'm just trying to tell people that actually there's something more loving going on here than we've been led to believe. So this idea is, well, I come to Speaker's Corner, that we're at enmity with each other, that we want to have the Muslim Christian thing, or the Jewish this thing, or that black white thing, all that Hebrew Israelite, all of that, that's all constructed. The Angola South Africa thing, the communist capitalist thing, constructed. And so I'm lucky that I'm a veteran of war. So when I say to people, I'm not disrespecting war or veterans, but I see now that there's a hidden hand controlling these things. Some people say it's just the bankers. Some people say it's the religious orders or the royals or whatever. But I think it's deeper than that too. Deeper than that. Esoteric, hidden, something. But like, I never got into religion, although I was brought up as a Christian household. I never got into religion, but I now understand the kind of responsibility that a guy like Jesus, if he existed, or a guy like Muhammad, might have felt to go out to people and say, hey, you've been lied to. You are divine. You are beautiful. You are part of this creation. What we are meant to be doing here is finding ways to come back to our essence, our brotherhood, our connection, our oneness, and all that sort of thing. Not through a system of governmental controls and one world government kind of financial economic system that has everybody eating out of Tesco's, everybody eating shit food, getting cancers, going through an indoctrination system that has them thinking less of themselves rather than more of themselves, because we are meant to be at the pinnacle of what we are. But actually our education, my education, what I see today, what TV, porn, you name it, gaming, all of these things are designed to minimize and rob us of nature. Yeah. Well, see, well, Okay. If I can offer you something as food for thought, Steve, that is that the idea of scarcity, the idea of shortage, the idea of too many humans in too little space. I was just talking to the social experimentalist, you might know him, Danny Shine. Yeah, and he's like of this idea that we should be curtailing the birth of, he wants to have a political party that curtails the birth, makes childbearing illegal. Now for me, that's the complete antithesis of what actually nature is all about. And the reason we think in terms of shortage is because we've been systematically put through the mill. We've been squeezed into these detention centers, we call them cities. We've been forced into a production line system of food, which means that we can no longer fend for ourselves. We're no longer in nature, with nature. Children today are frightened. They see my little baby boy, he's 2 years old, walking around barefoot, and 5-year-old children say, why is that child not wearing shoes? 5-year-old children know that already, that they should be in shoes, rather than, earthing themselves, connecting with nature, being out. My son will walk and see, he will find fruit and say, yes, I can eat this. No, I can't. The other day, he found a plum tree. I was like walking past this tree for years and never knew there were plums. Now we're always picking the plums of the tree and so on. And this is my 2 years, 2 months old boy. Because I've realized now that with my older children who are in university, I've realized that, well, I just gave them the same indoctrination that I got given, So I've started a little YouTube channel. I've got 1,000 followers, so it's not very big, thank you. But, I'm able to go live and do a live stream and go out and try and generate interest in people going out and being, not stoking the fire of, let's go and storm the Downing Street or any of that kind of mindset. It doesn't solve anything, and Downing Street wants that. Actually, this system wants me to get angry. The system that's what religion does to people. It makes them choose sides. And I can't choose a side. I want to try and find a neutral way that says, hey, if we all collectively learn this about ourselves, stop the bickering, stop the squabbling. I talk on NASA. Yes, it's 50 years since they went to the moon, right? And, with technology that, well, I mean, if you think about a car 50 years ago and a car today, or a computer 50 years ago and a computer today, but rocket technology, the billionaires can't go on holiday for a few days up in outer space, as it were. They can't, let alone go to the moon. So no, we didn't go to the moon, and I think that we can't measure any curvature or spin of this earth. So I talk on the idea that the whole of science has been given to us, handed down by this hidden hand, and that everybody has this. I used to think that I was from evolution. I believed in evolution. I thought I was out of Africa, actually. I bought into the out of Africa 70,000 years ago stuff that beautiful female doctor puts on the BBC put out for us to kind of watch. So I forget her name now. It's been years since I followed Cox and her and so on. But actually, what they're all doing is trying to. They don't know it, maybe. Like a priest doesn't know that he's maybe selling you something that isn't quite true. Some of it's true, but not all of it. And the same is true with our science. Some of it's true, but not all of it. And so when you start to unpick that, you realize, my God, this may be your creation. This may well be the thing that you came here to experience as as a fractal or a representation of God itself, His self, itself, whatever. No, I didn't believe in any of that. I really didn't. And I'll tell you why. I went to Joburg, went on a book tour, and this Jewish dude, pal of mine, I'd known 25 years before when I worked in the nightclub thing in Cape Town. He's like, Joe, he says, come try this DMT, man. It's about your third eye, your pineal gland. Oh my God. In 5 minutes, I found God. I found a creator. I found that we were not material, but we were like a waveform. Yeah. Fluoride. You know a lot, man, for a guy who's in the system. Much respect. Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm really glad to meet you because, and it's good to say. Okay.
I've seen you a couple times on YouTube.
Ah, yeah. Watch stuff and yeah. Yeah. When's your holiday? When do you?
South Africa.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, lovely time.
We had a braai yesterday.
He's the man. A braai. If you don't know what he just said, he said a barbecue. Steve just said a barbecue. And I'm really glad to be. And of course, the people that are listening, it's like, I'm not trying to rub up against the system and say to the system, because I worked in Westminster City Council for years, 10 years about, City Hall, 64 Victoria Street. That was where I worked through the 90s and early 20s. So I've come from inside of the system in a way, and so I realize that most of us are just kind of doing the best that we can given this situation. But once we have this empowering knowledge, then I think that we can continue doing what we do it in a way that we can enrich humanity over the decades to come. That's where I'm at.
We've all got the same path, we've got the same goal.
Nice to meet you. Really nice to meet you. Yeah, cheers, Steve. All the best. Tot ziens. Yeah, tot ziens. And it's that's really cuck. You see that? Now I make friends with Steve. I can't really go and bloody tag. Since when can't we tag? I don't really want to argue with these people. Hello. But I do need to talk. I'm on fire right now, man. That was fun. I hope you guys got that, enjoyed that. I'm obviously not watching the screen because I assume I'm live and everything. I can see someone made a comment there. Actually, I brought my glasses today, so I might even be able to read them. My screen is very black, very cracked. But did you hear that, guys? Did you hear what I was saying? Because some of it is about us. Sorry. Some of it is about us coming together, and I think that in the Flat Earth, there was a little thing recently with me and Dell from Beyond the Imaginary Curve, because I gave props to Russian vids, and that's caused a little bit of a shitstorm in some people's backyard. But we got to know, we all really, I think we all want the same thing. It's just that not everybody comes at it from the same way, However, excuse me, my thoughts on this is that we should be growing. This is what I see in my own journey. It's painful. My wife, painful for her to be going through her own growth. This has been a tough few years for us. Make no mistake about it, because we are trying to move past the war-like footing, the level 3 critical position that, humanity is at, because that, my friends, is a low vibration. It's a very low vibration. It's a shame I can't put a tag down. Oh, I've got one down over there, so that's helpful. I can tag it. I can go for that. But oh man, hey, how you guys? All right. Yeah. I haven't got. You know what? I brought a chalk today. I didn't bring any banners. It's prayer time. But I've been talking, and then the liaison guy, Steve, he's gone. You know what? You're not allowed to talk.
Oh really?
Yeah. And I mean, these guys make this shit up as they go along. I'm fairly sure. But yeah. Nice, really, really nice guy. But this is for me non-vandalism. Chalk is just dust. It blows away in the wind or the next rain, and it's all gone. So anyway, it's just I will need to find a platform that I can talk on, because I want to talk to people about the moon landings were faked. I mean, it's so easy to see once the blinkers come off. So I'll see if I can get a chat with people.
I want to hear some of that shit. There was a fight about you.
A fight? No. Flat Earth? Really?
It all kicked off, innit?
Oh.
Yeah, they had it all out. The black guy with, I think it's a middle age.
Ah.
It all fucking kicked off.
Wow.
Blood.
No way, not today. A few weeks ago. Was that a few weeks ago? No.
Check on YouTube. Maybe 3-4 weeks.
Man.
Yeah.
That wasn't Flat Earth?
It started on Flat Earth. And then it just ego.
Wow, because it does get people upset, man. Let me tell you, I get people come to me and say names at me like you ain't heard before. Yeah, man. Yeah. That's a good accent. I don't follow cricket. I don't have a cricket team. No. I mean, remember, I'm not South African. I'm just a man. You know what I mean? The idea that I must take like an identity that's given to me by the system, very cautious about that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you know, because that's what they want us to do, is they want us to choose a team. Doesn't matter what the team is. It's sport, it's religion, it's you know, even like a company. Oh, I work for company A and not company B, so I'll do extra things for company A, and they'll be my, you know, everyone who works there is my brother, kind of thing. You know? And we can be a little bit kind of small-minded like that, you know. And they do it to you when you're young. They go, you're this, you're an Indian or an Asian or a Pakistani or a whatever, and then when you go and play, and then people say, now your tone of your skin is this color or that tone or that color, so that you start to get given these sort of little barriers that separate you, segment you from everybody else. Subtle things, but it's repeated thousands of times over your lifetime. And every time you look in the mirror, you start to go, I have to identify like that. And even a guy who put on a Manchester United shirt, he'll feel prouder about himself standing in the mirror this morning, putting on his Manchester United or South African cricket team shirt, and he'll feel like he's more of a man because he's got that shirt on. And that's not well, that's why I see it. For me, sport is like the soft side of the division thing. Yeah, because no one minds. Yeah, everyone's going to choose their school team, you know, to support. That's fair enough, you know. You kind of but then that's where it starts. Or what class are you in? What year are you in? What stream are you in? You know, what kind of intellect are you in? Yeah, you know, rather than wow, we're all so beautiful and it doesn't, you know, we're all one kind of thing. It's a whole different way of thinking, and it takes a whole lot of, you know, deprogramming, because I said we all been given it. And me as a South African, you know, they tried very hard on the color thing, you know. I mean, I was 21 years old. I got pulled over in Soweto. This is in 1989, 1990. So still, you know, it wasn't a good idea to be a white guy in Soweto. But I took a friend into Soweto, right? I dropped him off. I'm driving back out, I've got the music up loud, and I hear this helicopter chappa, 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 chappa overhead. I'm like, that's funny, I wonder what they're up to. Next thing, 4 unmarked Golf GTIs pull me over, search me under the hood. They were looking for guns, drugs. They're like, what's a white boy doing in the middle of Soweto like this? This is not right. I'm like, and even when I was a younger boy, you know, I used to go into the townships with my friends, and we'd hang out and do drugs and stuff like that. You know, so for me, it didn't stick that well, but for a lot of people, it sticks real hard, even today, you know. So people are still very divided by that in South Africa, for sure. So, you know, but this is the only way we're ever going to deprogram that, is when we start to realize we're only one. But I come here and I meet people, everyone wants to divide. Oh, I'm separate from you because I'm Sunni, I'm Shia, you know, or I'm Roman Catholic, or I'm Jewish, Protestant, you know. And this is how it keeps going. And on all of this is about choose a team. Your parents have given you a team, your town gave you a team to support.
I choose your team.
Which is like the middle team, which is like the neutral team, you know.
What do you say? You can't do it.
What, the chalk? Yeah, I can do a little bit. I mean, you know. Yeah. Well, no, he'll know it was me, but I put in chalk on the ground.
He want to do the
yeah.
Show how he is.
But well,
not just with the flesh.
I did. Yeah. Yeah, he's the yeah, very, very nice guy, actually. Very nice guy. But you know, it's like, this is doing no harm. Yeah, maybe a diagram of the Earth, because when you think about the Earth as a ball, it starts to, yeah, North Pole, you got to, I mean, I'm trying to steer away, though, from trying to push people down the flat Earth rabbit hole, because they need to know that the Earth is flat ultimately. They need to know that the Earth is not a ball, and it's like some kind of planes of existence, you know, and when you go up in a plane, you can see like a parallel or horizontal cloud bank, you know, everything is kind of in layers. If you think about gases that are going above us, they're all going to be up in sort of layers. But when you try and look at those layers on a ball, you will notice that if they're going to float upwards, the lightest gases are going to sort of migrate to the top of the ball. It's going to be a weird thing, you know. But no, people say no, gravity, very weak gravity, will hold those light gases to the outside of it, on the side of the ball and all that bullshit. So when you see it as a drawing. What, the drawing? Oh, just because the Royal Park's no chalk is in a summary. Hello, mate. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, yeah. Are you a black? I don't know. I noticed. Yeah. No, can you say coloured chalk and get away with it? I follow a guy. I listen to a guy called Bro Sanchez on YouTube. Have you come across Bro Sanchez? Yeah, man, he's a guy that you might be able to resonate with, because, man, I've been listening to him for a few years, and the stuff that he talks about on sacred geometry, on the way that how Kemetic teachings have been mistaught and stuff like that, you know, ancient teachings about how the world spiritualities were and so on. Fantastic guy. He lives in southern states of America, a black dude. He's got a fantastic charisma, but a wealth of knowledge. So Bro Sanchez, or Brother Sanchez, is his YouTube channel. I strongly Highly recommend. He's got about 80,000 subs, but I'd highly recommend checking him out. Oh, you also got lots of cracks on your screen, like me. Check my screen out. It's got all big black spots and cracks all over the place. Yeah, Bro Sanchez, you know, props to Bro Sanchez. I mean, he's plenty of people that I've learned quite a lot from, but he consistently delivers some fantastic things to think about, you know. I don't agree with everything that he says, but, you know, I think that he is about the one humanity, the one kind of, you know, you often find people that eventually you listen to them long enough, they go, but you got to also take this little section and belong to that little kind of clique, and that's where I lose it, you know. I can't be part of something like that. It's got to be, if it's not expanding, the heart is not expanding, we're not growing together in togetherness, we're finding ways to be separate, then I think we're going in the wrong direction. We're continuing what the system wants us to do, is to be very separate, very divided, as I said earlier. What's your name? What's your name? Michael. Michael, I'm Dave. Nice to meet you. Sorry, man, I got chalk in my hand. I didn't want to.
Sacred geometry.
Oh, good.
I'm still learning about esoteric.
Okay. Well, sacred geometry is fascinating, and you know what they do, Michael, is they take like a speaker plate and they run vibrations through it with some like rice or sand on those, and you'll see how as they change the hertz, the frequency, you get all these, the sand just naturally gravitates into these beautiful geometric shapes. You can look at a guy called Dr. Emoto. He's done research on how if you talk nicely to water or angrily to water, you can actually get the ice crystals.
I don't really.
My brother, you know what? This is God spoke the creation into existence, and so everything is actually a vibration. And when I had my DMT experience 4 years ago, it opened my pineal gland so that I could see no longer you in the flesh, but you in the vibration, the vibratory kind of state. Oh my Lord. The particle physics that we've been taught is incorrect. What it is that you are a wave or a waveform, or, you know, and everything, the trees, the birds, the grass, the ground, the police, they're all simply a waveform. And when you see it like that, you realize that, well, it's all sort of like some sort of electrical circuit, a little bit like the Matrix, but I don't want to go all that way in terms of
No. Pantheism, like everything is one.
Yeah.
God is one.
Yes. Almost like we're sort of, just say, for example, we're like in a cube, an electromagnetic cube, and inside of that cube there is like a torus field, an electromagnetic torus field, and as Bro Sanchez will say, like a hyperboloid. So at the north, like a hyperboloid torus field. So at the North Pole, you've got energy either coming up and out, or sinking down and in, and going through the North Pole and back out again through the butt. So if you think about the human in the same way, like if you painted an apple over my body and had like the electromagnetic field coming out of my hair and running back into my tailbone, into my lower chakras, right? Then that's what we all are, some sort of electromagnetic system in an electromagnetic toroidal torus field, which I call the ether. I think this is like the ether that we live on, and we walk on something of a slightly different frequency. That's why it feels like hard, stone, tar, dirt, whatever. But it's actually just a different frequency. So when you die, for example, that frequency loss that you have, because we come here with like a limiter that only allows you to see a certain range of frequency. So they say 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. So when you die, or open your pineal gland, perhaps you get to see 30,000 hertz, or maybe there's 100,000 hertz, or there's a million hertz, I don't know. But once you die, you see what science says, 98.5% of all matter in the universe is dark matter. You get to reconnect back with that.
When you die, how do you see? Are you conscious when you die?
Well, this is okay. Now we're into my theory based on research that I've done. Because remember, I was an atheist 5 years ago. I was an atheist, man. No God, no belief, no nothing. Then I had the DMT experience, right? So then I've done a lot of research on that, and I've done the Chango or the DMT one more time since then. You know, so I've had chance to kind of see this more, and when I first had the DMT experience, I called it a near-death experience. It was like I died. So it was like a door had been opened to me, and I suggest to you that when we die, the door is open back to us, so that this might be a sort of a form of a pause in the eternal you, or the eternal energy that is you. This lifetime of 80 or 100 years might simply be a brief pause in that story. So you come here, you come to learn something, and then you go back to where you come from. You know, and so if it's true that this is one creation, there is one God, one creation, then we are of that one God, that one creation, which means in a sense we are a fractal of God. So when you go back to God, you return with your knowledge, experience, life experience. Have you achieved your mission? Have you achieved what you came here and set out to do? And then if not, perhaps you come back. I don't know. This gets into, like, you know, afterlife, and so I don't really know. I just know, for me, that death is actually something to be looking forward to. Not that I want to bring it on anytime soon, but it's not something. It's not the end of the story. It's just a continuation of going back from whence you came. I think when I had the DMT experience, I felt like all knowledge of humanity, future and past, was in me somehow. Somehow I was connected to all of that. So that's what I think will happen, is that when you die, you will go to that, and if you've learned what you've learned, then you've learned what you learned. If you haven't, then maybe you come back, but not as you, Michael, but as another child that's born into another family somewhere else. And we could argue that that's happening all the time. Constantly, people are dying, returning to the source, and constantly people are being born and coming back in for an experience. What we do with that experience is shaped by the world around us, as I was saying earlier on, and the world around us has been misshapen for decades, centuries perhaps, about, you know, this crazy Darwinian idea of us being monkey evolution, and we got to be dog eat dog, like Danny Shine was saying, we're just horrible poopers, and we should be culled, and there shouldn't be enough of, we should be cutting humanity out. I'm saying actually we are meant to be learning and not giving up on humanity. We are meant to be learning about how we nurture nature and not giving up on humanity. And this is why I'm here on Sunday, trying to kind of inform people that actually you might be the creator yourself, and you're meant to be finding that divine spark in you, despite the system trying its damnedest to kind of ever let you know the truth about that, whether it be through religion, education, TV, you name it, all those things that are out there kind of distracting us or misleading us. How about that?
Yeah, it sounds possible, yeah.
Thanks, bro. Well, all I want to leave you with is thought that actually death is actually a beautiful thing, actually. Not and when we have a wake and we like, we're sad because that person's left us and stuff, but I think that from my experience anyway, I lost, in that 4 or 5 minutes that I was in the DMT, I lost all fear of death. I was 46 years old. I developed a few little niggling fears of flying and shit like that, and I lost all of that in an instant. And the truth was, I was like, wow, I was immersed in the most intense love field that I could ever have imagined, beyond the clarity of things, higher than 4K, Jeff, higher than I thought my mind could do on acid or mushrooms or any of those things that I'd done before. I was like transported to a place where it was divine, it was loving, and I was like, shit, I want to go back, but at the same time, I'm not scared of if I went when it's my time to go there. But it took me 46 years to kind of work that out. So if you know that now, I said, every 16-year-old should be offered the DMT. It should be like, this is what it is, this is what it does, would you like to do it? If not now, come back another time, but that's really up to you. However, once you do it, you'll have an experience, most people will have a transformative experience that it's hard to put into words, but for you, it's like your life changes and your outlook on humanity changes for the most part in the best ways. They use it for ayahuasca for like heavy drug abusers.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Like, you should, outside of this ayahuasca plant from, where is it from?
So it's Peru, South America, around there.
Yeah. It's like the Mother Nature speaking to people or something.
Yes, Mother Nature speaking to people. Exactly right, brother. Have I tried ayahuasca? Well, you have? No.
No, haven't.
Well, I suggest you do. I haven't. Ayahuasca is the DMT, but it takes about 5 or 6 hours, maybe 10 hours to work through your body. So you have a much longer experience. Some say the DMT smoke, like I did, is like a bungee jump. I can all the way to the bottom of the canyon and back again in just 4 or 5, 10 minutes. Yeah. Whereas the ayahuasca is frightening, but also it's like a more a longer journey, and it gets you to the bottom, and you stay there longer, and then you come back again. And I recommend it. There are a lot of ayahuasca sort of people springing up around the UK or in Europe. It's illegal, I think, in the UK still. So you can do this ayahuasca tourism, but I'm mindful that it's a very sacred process, and it's not something to be taken lightly. Do it in the right environment, the right setting, with people who know what they're doing and stuff like that, because it's a frightening. It was probably the most frightening thing that ever happened to me was the DMT. For 30 seconds, I was in terror, and then once that passed, I was in this love place. And I think maybe the terror was a period of me coming to terms with all the bad things I've done in my life up until that point. That's what it felt like. Felt like all of humanity's sins or my own sins were being purged in those 30 seconds, and it was like horror. My mouth was a rictus of fear and screaming. That's what I was for the first 30 seconds of it. And then after that, my mother's voice came to me. She's dead. My mother's voice came to me and said, "Calm down," or "I'm with you," and all that. And that, a voice like my mother's, I would say. And then a man spoke to me, and I was then just in love, and I was getting all this information about who and what I am, what we are, what this is, and so on. And I saw in the second, when I did it the second time, I saw how all of the trappings of mankind, the banking and the casinos, were going down into like a pit, into a vortex, and so on. So that gave me the sense that maybe some of what they say in the Bible about humanity kind of gets to a point where it needs to be reset, where there's a flood, there's a change, a pole shift or a electromagnetic. If we're in an electromagnetic soup, then all you need to do is flip a switch, and in a moment everything changes. That could mean that people either become something different, or this whole thing is wiped away. If you've ever looked into the mud flood theories and so on, about how a lot of our cities are buried under many, many meters of mud, and so that maybe 200-300 years ago we have had these sort of earth-wide events where everything just gets shifted in a day, in a week.
Or is it in South America?
No, you'll see that, in London.
Cities buried.
Oh, yeah? And pyramids. There's pyramids in South America.
Hancock talks about that, yeah.
Oh, Graham Hancock. There's pyramids, as he says, all over the world. And these have been known about, the cultures that have been known about. For example, the story about the North America is completely, the history we're given, completely wrong. The history we're given about most Africa, the African story, completely wrong. So I encourage you to kind of go back and look again. Hancock, for me, is like a is like a gatekeeper. He's a very good researcher and so on, and fantastic work, but at the same time, he can only go so far in terms of telling you the truth about what we really know about how old things are and how it is that we've just kept quiet about building on top of ancient buildings or just adopting ancient buildings. So I'm kind of going back into cities where we got photos of massive cities that are built before a time that we could have built these things. There's no people around, maybe 100 people posing in shots and so on. But it's like we've come back over these cities from ancient times and then re-inhabited them. And the people who run the show, they get to kind of divvy up all the nice buildings to the churches and to the governments and sometimes to the schools and so on. So they use all these really old buildings and just pretend like they built them. You know, they've got a photo of one ladder leaning up against a massive structure and they say, this is us building it. No, it's not. You came after the fact. You never built that. We never built this. You know, there's a lot of construction in the world that we can't match today in terms of the stagnant beauty. Yeah. Pyramids, and also just take Canterbury Cathedral. You know, Canterbury Cathedral was built by people who didn't have scaffolding, they didn't have machinery. Canterbury Cathedral, you know, Canterbury Cathedral down in Canterbury is 800 years old, and it's got these beautiful spires. I mean, you think about the best cathedrals, the one that burnt down in France recently, in Paris. What was it called? Thank you, friend. Notre Dame burnt down recently. Now that building is staggering in its beauty, built by people who were just lugging things on their back. If we go and repair those buildings today, it takes 10 years. You know, we put it up and we hide it away. Canterbury Cathedral is under 10 years of refurbishment. I mean, these guys could have built the thing in about twice the time it takes us to simply do a few repairs to the roof. So how is that progress? Or what is it that these people were doing that we're not doing today? So there's a lot of hidden knowledge about humanity, our story, and the truth about who and what we are. But it all comes back to, ultimately, they're deceiving us for some reason. That reason is much more than money. That reason is that you might well be the creator having your own experience.
What day?
They. Good question. Who are they? They are... well, I was just saying to the police, Stephen, you know, that it's actually, if you look at a pyramid, you could take to the top of the pyramid, but just take the capstone off. Yeah. So that's the they. But just below the capstone, you've got the royals, you've got the banking, you've got a hierarchy, a pyramidal hierarchy structure, and at the very top of the pyramid, less the capstone, is like these people that are in the know. Some people say it's like the Rothschilds and, you know, the banking dynasties, and then the royal dynasties, and then the papal dynasties that are at almost at the top. But at the very top of the capstone is the mystery, and that's the man behind the curtain. Maybe we never find out who the man behind the curtain is, but I think there's a man behind the curtain. Some people, if they're into UFOs and aliens, people say that there's like an alien race that's controlling these folks. Other people who are into parasites say there's a small parasite that's burrowed into humanity's brain. Others say it's simply, you know, the greed of man, and that these people that are at the very top have got a few families above them who are the ones that are kind of just keeping this lie going so that, you know, we'll stay in a low vibration. And the best that I can say is that they want us to stay in this low vibration because if humanity really find out the truth about who they are and what they are, then we will have a true form of anarchy, the form of anarchy which doesn't involve violence, but involves everybody taking responsibility for themselves, finally, and therefore stepping away from any need for a system of control, a system of feeding, a system of medication or poisoning, and a system of indoctrination or education, you know, or a system of weaponry and military and so on. We would truly, like it says in the Bible, turn our weapons into plowshares, you see, and that's what really, I think that we'd get back to sort of living at a high vibration, more one with nature, more spread out over this world. So that means that all the land, trillions and trillions of acres of land that's in private hands or in government hands and so on, would have to be relinquished so that people could go back to the land that is their heritage, that we were sent to Earth for. Now, we lost our way along that way, Michael. My view is that if over time we start to learn the truth about that, then eventually collectively we will start to make the right choices to divest from those things that are harming us and move more towards those things that are going to return us to a oneness with our Creator. And maybe people say the Freemasons or whoever run, you know, the royal, say the Vatican or whatever, the Jesuits and these sort of secret societies, maybe their agenda is more benign than it seems, you know. Some people say they're just the scum of the earth. You could also say that perhaps they've created this dichotomy. Whether it be just about the history of the last 500 years or 5,000 years, but they've created this dichotomy for you to say, do you choose to kind of stay off the yellow brick road and go into banking or go into pornography or going to spend your time, you know, eating, you know, drinking or doing all these sort of debaucherous things? Or do you choose to stay on the kind of God-given road, you know, that ideal road, somewhere in the middle? And if enough people start to do that, maybe collectively we will all move towards something more beautiful, something less violent, something more loving. How does that sound to you?
Yeah.
That's my thesis.
I mean, yeah, I kind of agree with most of it, because as you can see, the government they try to put people down so they can control them, and yeah.
Well, what did you tell you, Steve, the police liaison? He agreed with me. he said that that's what's going on. Is that I think he referred to fluoridation of the pineal gland is there to kind of dumb us down like they did with the concentration camps back in World War II. The poisons that they put through Pepsi, Coke, McDonald's, or even anything that you sort of buy that's been processed. The poisons that the chemists don't realize are having a far more toxic effect on your ability to think for yourself. For example, just even this. I don't want to sound funny, but even like for example, I used to overeat pornography. I had too much pornography in my life, and as a consequence of that, I was wasting my sacred male energy. Because that sacred male energy should be constrained, used. Obviously it's there to be enjoyed and there to be, but also constrained. So just like eating a cake is nice, but eating 5 cakes a day is going to cause you harm. And the same is true with your seminal fluid, which is part of your cerebral spinal fluid connection or family. So, and which is connected again to the brain, the pineal gland, and so on. And so, part of aging us, part of denying us who and what we are, is to kind of weaken us and reduce us. And these are things that have been weakening and reducing me, and have weakened and reduced humanity as a whole. Even fan worship. There's nothing wrong with going to a day of Robbie Williamson here, and if that's your kind of music and so on. But to kind of idolize these people and to lionize them and hold them above yourself and so on is part of the deception. Same with a footballer. You see people. There's a lady over there with someone else. I bet that's someone else's name on a football jersey over there. And it's like, wow. So you're identifying with somebody else who's completely not you and not outside of you, when the truth is that we should be finding who and what we are from within, not externalizing, going to Robbie Williams. Oh, it's Williams. Yeah. It's Robbie Williams thing. I only worked that out now. Yeah. So, and that's the problem with it. It's like, have a balance of enjoying the music, but at the same time, always have time for that inner work, that spiritual work, that our modern lifestyles have crowded out. Develop the self, go within. To know thyself is to be closer to the source. And the closer you can get to the source in your lifetime, I think, is the mission. I don't know how close we get and how close we're meant to get, but I feel compelled to tell you, Michael, that we must do something rather than stay within the trap that's clearly been set for us. It's there. I'm pointing it out. There's a trap, and now you see it. If you see it, you've got to take action or stay within it. But the universe rewards motion and emotion and action and progress, and I think that's progress. But humanity at the moment is headed on a kind of downward spiral of externalizing. It's all about Robbie Williams. It's all about the beer. It's all about something outside of us. That's my thing. It's been nice talking to you, brother. Same. I don't want to bore you to death. But go well, man. Yeah. Young brother, go well. All right. Man. Well, my friends. I haven't obviously been following the chat. I hope that we're all being decent with one another. There's a lady talking. Let's see what she has to say. Yes. Gatekeep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You are. No, not like you. I don't take like these my power to like these mixed my life.
Very. Whoa, sister. Globe.
Say that high. Well, I was traveling blind, now I'm traveling live. I'm running nice. It's your prison. But you're waiting to tell by them. You contemplate the gates of flame, the devil plays the wicked game. But no, it's not that, and at least not to this tune. It's on beat. And I don't point to the left. I mean, like, it manifests like a cheap way. It's a new life. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's transformed as a reborn, like a remix of Queen. It's secret. It's deepest. It's staring at the pieces of it's like a street. Sometimes make you forget who you are. But sometimes those same connects to force you to step into your power and walk onto the path of your purpose. And you may still sometimes ask if it's worth it, because it won't always be an easy ride. People really do come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So try to find a lesson in every connection, whether brief or enduring. And remember that every thought, movement, or emotion is more than a ripple in the ocean. Take note, and with every choice you make or choose not to, remember that you enter onto a new timeline. I understand that, which is why I know I can bend and travel time. And another thing, if you can find a way to open your heart and mind to love, then I promise you will find your soul tribe. They will literally just start showing up. I finally found mine. It's like the stars aligned and time stood still. Real, really do recognize real. I love your soul tribe. Vibes right, mind's right. We stay tight. I'm so happy they can see me. Because this navigating humans isn't always easy.
Yeah! Hey, sister. Man, that's cool. That's cool. That was so cool.
So incomplete. The ego lays in conceit. Incognito. Tapped in so neat. Oh, how humility strives to be elite. Over narcissism unrecognized. I reckon I beckon strive to come and lead me to reason and understand. Any thoughts on how I can lead them and keep peace close at hand, release them. Trekking and traveling through the wilderness on the wildebeest. Passing through portals and seasons to yet another promised land. So many has one made dwelling place and habitations. I've seen hell in places and lacked impatience to make moves. To be regurgitated out of Babylon's belly, but in lieu of making moves, the anxiety and being overwhelmed with everything being just a little too much for such a quiet and introverted spirit like this. The lyrics might dip in the minute, I might dip, for the limits might rip like the boundaries of this round reality tearing at the seams. And it seems that I got this more than I think I do, more than I think I do, more than I think I will. I stop treading water and sink deep in love. I am deep in love with love itself, and God is love. So when God dwells, the heart swells, the mind delves deep in the bells, the spirit excels to stand in the face of Satan and malfunction, the engineering of hell. Well, here we are again. It's hard to just know that there may not be an end to this arduous road that entails you telling many lifetime and ultimate truths. And I become a strong tower of consult in the youth, igniting the youth, setting fire to the suits that are too big for their boots. Pushing false dreams of people who blindly follow and it's an empty pursuit. Pushing false dreams of people who blindly follow and it's an empty pursuit. Pockets empty pursuit, was it worth it?
Changing batteries.
Destroying communities and conquer me and conquer your mothers, your fathers, your brothers, your sisters, your children. I saw your children are not your children. Your children belong to the space just like you do.
One second.
For them and understand it's not God's will for us living in the same land, similar boxes. And we walk outside of them because we've never actually seen those boxes. There are no boxes. There are no boxes to think inside of. There are no spoons to bend with your mind, but there is no spoon. Just prophecies to fulfill. If I do this properly, then until those blessed days will we can refrain from keeping it moving. I'm going to take every moment to stand still.
Thank you.
To be still and know God. Those quiet moments of clairvoyance and clarity and positive communication with the Creator working and hurting for when I am of the incomplete version of self.
Yeah. Nice, very nice, very nice.
Poet, show some love to your people!
Yeah!
Show some love to your poet!
Wow, it's awesome. Jesus, you are Jesus. You are Jesus. You're an old timer. Well, hey, congratulations. You're looking really good for 83.
83.
Yeah, I found out a little while ago that we might be God, you know.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Yeah, you came here to have an experience with Elvis. Yeah? That's awesome.
I have the hungry support.
Okay.
I'm set down to do something.
Yeah, no, I admire that. I admire that. What's your name?
Ronnie.
Ronnie, I'm Dave.
And I sing with the Streetwise Opera.
Oh, okay.
That's
Streetwise.
Internationally.
Okay.
All over the country.
Do they have a website?
Yeah, Streetwise Opera.
Yeah, Streetwise Opera. Streetwise Opera. Okay. All right, Ronnie. Well, hey. Yeah. But if I can tell you that I think that the religions have divided humanity, you know, on purpose.
It was said there, he helped people.
I love it.
Yeah. He was a believer of Jesus, and he tried to copy that.
Okay, Elvis, yeah.
And he was blessed with the voice.
All right. Yeah, he was indeed. Yes.
And he was.
Yes.
And he brought so much
joy to the people. That's an important thing, hey, joy. We need joy. We need more love.
Wow.
Don't you think more love in the world?
More like Elvis.
Yes.
Because he sat down and prayed, and sat down and talked, and heard other people's religion.
Awesome.
Belief.
Yeah, oh, right, okay. Well, I think we're all one, so there shouldn't be division about religion. You can believe whatever you like. Well, you won't believe this, Ronnie. That's amazing. That's a proper bicep there. Wow. One second, guys. That's a real bicep there, Ronnie. But yeah, I was going to say, people believe some odd stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to tell you that I believe that NASA faked the moon landing.
Well, that's it. You've got to believe, and you've got to faith what you believe.
Yeah. I think that they faked the moon landing to make us believe that we were some small insect on a ball floating in space.
Yeah, that was it.
But in the Bible says that God created the Earth stationary with the moon inside of the firmament. So how do you square that?
And other people thought we were left by the aliens.
Yeah.
Flew off to the other another.
Yeah, that's Tom Cruise and them. They think that, eh? Or Scientologists. Yeah.
The second coming.
Right.
He sat down and he preached religion. He got so much joyousness over the world.
Yeah.
There's no other man done that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's amazing.
And that is it.
But you're still bringing joy to the world today, and as a consequence, partly of that. So yeah, much respect.
And he's looked after me.
Yeah.
And I've always respected other people's religions, but another one I don't understand.
Well, love makes the world go around, I think. Yeah. Oh. You're very good at Elvis, yeah. Is there any that I could sing along to that you know?
When I over the land and over the pop.
Wow, what about that one? Please release me, let me go. Release me. And that's it. Let me go. Thanks for clarifying that. Humperdinck, was that? Oh, right, yeah. Sorry. For some reason, I always sing it thinking that was him. But now I'm glad you clarified it.
No, Elvis, I've done it.
Covered it. Right. Yeah, covered it.
And that's what made him please an Englishman.
Right.
Like that, no, was a bus driver.
Oh, okay.
And he had a lovely voice, Matt Monroe.
Yeah.
And of course, anybody that's got a good voice, you must have been born with it.
Yeah, you think? Yeah. Well, not today. They can use digital technology to make even me, who got good sound like Embudik.
If you've been born.
Yeah, back then you had to have a voice. Yeah, you had to be born with it.
But there again, I've got personality.
Yes.
And a good sex, 8 children.
I love it.
I believe that you can't buy a personality. You've got to be there with it.
Yeah.
And make people laugh.
Yeah.
Make people smile.
8 children. Much respect.
Yeah. People smiling.
Yeah, the whole world smiles with you. Lovely to meet you, Ronnie. Yeah, all the best, brother. I'll see you again. Yeah. Tell us the name of your street. It's
Streetwise Opera.
Streetwise Opera.
And Piers Morgan is going to have him on his program. Piers Morgan.
Oh, really? Oh, good. Oh, good for you.
The Streetwise Opera there soon.
There you go. Piers Morgan. Fantastic.
It's England, right there where I live.
Yeah.
Right? When he's here.
Yeah.
He lives in Los Angeles. When he's back in
America. Okay.
And he's a lovely man.
Oh, you've met him. Okay, well, that's good for you. I haven't, but yeah. Oh, well, great.
Yeah. Americans have done so much for it in the World War.
Yeah, didn't they? Apparently.
Without the Americans, we can win the war anyway.
Well, there's the bankers. No, the England didn't win. Who won the war? The Americans.
The Americans helped us win the war when they went into when Pearl Harbor got knocked.
Oh, yeah.
We was at war with the Japanese.
Yes.
And the Germans.
Yes.
But remember years ago, America was ready to attack England.
Yes.
Or Ireland.
Yeah.
But they never.
Yeah. Do you think that's the bankers, though, that won the war? Because the bankers are banking for both teams.
Well, no. And the Russians fell.
Yeah.
But then they couldn't make up their mind.
Right.
They don't want to overtake. And then.
Yeah. Well, it's been really nice meeting you. Really nice meeting you, Ronnie. All the best, my brother. Much respect to you. Yeah, that's a fantastic grip. Now, you're a man for half your age would have a grip like that. Yeah. Yay, Ronnie the man. Fantastic. Thank you, brother. Have a good day. Cheers. Hey, you know what? Sometimes I just don't have the heart in me to say, some of the things that I think about some of these things. Some of these things. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my battery pack here, guys. So if my stream cuts, it's because my phone has died on me. So yeah, but hopefully I can stay with you for a while because it's kind of fun. And you know what? I'm here for you know what it says. Still says NASA FAC. NASA FAC. I mean, what does that mean? That's what it says. Look. That's what Steve interrupted me when I was doing this earlier. You might or might not have seen that. He's the police liaison dude here, and he's like, oh no, we can't do this no more. Blah, blah, blah. I was writing NASA fake space. Oh, I'd planned this out in my mind last night. I was like, I'm gonna write NASA fake space like that in sort of like a crossword puzzle. But my man Steve over there, he's fearless Christianity.
Can you speak in foreign tongues? Jesus Christ the Messiah. Can you speak in foreign tongues? Can you speak in foreign tongues? Can you piss? Can you speak in foreign tongues? You got the Holy Spirit in you. Speak in tongues. We thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord, that you are the Almighty. What are you saying? With those who accept Jesus Christ. Power. It's a fashion statement. It's a fashion statement for that. So those who accept Jesus Christ.
You know, it's not Looney Tunes.
Thank you, Jesus.
Like a T-shirt. Who's
the biggest chump in the world.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's a pretty strong statement. I don't have a view on politics, so I don't mind. But well, he's become that guy. People hate him now.
I don't hate him.
Well, not hate him, but he's.
I think he's great.
You mind if I ask you if who's going to be Prime Minister next?
Probably Boris Johnson.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard. It's interesting, isn't it? How it's come about. Do you mind if I film you? I've got my YouTube channel running.
No, if people want to live in a consumer society,
yeah,
you have to have a consumer type economy.
That's a really good statement. Yeah.
And I've got plenty of money. I'm not a great consumer.
Yeah.
Money's only good for money. It gives you freedom.
Yeah.
If you need the operation, you can get it done.
Yeah, quickly.
Everything else is globalism, you know. So if you're going to have a free economy, which is the only economy in the world, capitalism is the only rational system in the world, set free millions of people, you're going to have a Boris Johnson or a Jeremy Hunt.
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
If you want a Marxist, under this current system, it's a quick way of going downhill because if Jeremy Hunt
Corbyn
did get elected, let's say he got elected as Prime Minister,
yeah,
the money would be out of the country within about 48 hours and there'd be no money and we'd end up
okay. Well, what if I was to offer you a thought that I used to think in terms of left and right politics, and now I see both left and right as simply arms of the same beast, the same creature. So even though, and I've lived back in the UK for 25 years, and I've been very interested in politics during that time. So I was here for the Blair, the euphoria around the Blair. I was born in Poole in Dorset, but my parents emigrated to South Africa when I was 6 months old. So yeah, so I spent 25 years there, now 25 years here. So half my life there, half here, and I was obviously swept up in the apartheid politics of South Africa. And then I watched in real time how it all switched on the people there.
I think I had a similar sort of life. I was 24, I went to New Zealand. Joined the Air Force training for share. I've got my city and guild with it. And I've talked to lots of South Africans. My cancer served in South Africa.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Cancer, obviously,
right.
Yeah. But there are no answers. I mean, apart from was wrong. Of course it's wrong. But if you think the African National Congress is going to be an answer, you'll say
no, of course not. No, of course not. Which is why I've realised that when the African National Congress came to power, they only came to power because of the beast who said, yes, you can be the left arm and you can come to power now. You can swing up and become in power. And they were given that because as a boy who went through national service in South Africa, fought in the Angolan War, I was very attuned to the state of affairs in South Africa, and the apartheid agenda or the apartheid system was very much in control of things in 1987 when I went to the war. Then 4 or 5 years later, they just handed it all away, and it makes no sense how that one arm, the right arm, would swing down all of a sudden and say, yes, I'll let the left arm up, but for the beast asked it to, or told it to.
I saw, I think it's a BBC documentary, they're in Soweto in South-West Africa, and they went through what they used to call the Cape beer halls.
Yeah.
And this black lady, sitting by there, obviously in desperate knowledge, was the old system is back.
Yes, yeah. Actually, you hear that in...
There,
yeah. Well,
a chap said to me once, oh, you're in New Zealand, you put
the Maoris, that's a day.
No.
The Maoris had a separate battalion, not because it was a separation of races. They fight better as a group.
Yeah.
You see, people got the wrong idea in mind that I've never been to South Africa. The Afrikaner tribe, there's the British tribe,
Yeah.
there's the Zulu, there's all that, and they're all one place. It's a human thing, you know.
Well, that's where I've come to realize that this beast, when it swings its left arm and its right arm, it gets us to get agitated with each other. You see,
My name's Bob Peckham.
I'm Dave. Dave Mantle.
Listen,
Yeah.
You're
Bob.
very, very good friend.
Yeah.
Although I'm to the right and centre, I'm now realising that it's all one of the wonders.
Yeah.
In 1952, when I was 8, from 76 to
Okay.
I watched my mum work here as a senior sales lady at Seltzers in Leicester Square.
Okay.
And in the evenings, she had to work as a barmaid because you never got any welfare. We lived with the grandparents, a single mother. And sometimes I'd come up and meet her on the tube when I was 8, and we'd have a milkshake or something.
Yeah.
But sometimes she said goodbye and sent me out. She had to go to work. And we used to get the radio, the political discussions. I didn't understand that, but she said before she died, on the radio, we didn't have to. And then they get come together in the party.
Yeah.
This is the politicians.
Yes.
That's the polarity.
Yes,
The
that's right.
polarity party.
That's all right.
So, what do you believe?
And I saw that for myself. I did a little bit of freelance journalism a few years ago, and I went to an event where, you might remember in South Africa, there was a strike at a mine called Marikana, and the police went nuts about 6 years ago, and they shot apparently 30 protesters dead, right? And so I went to a press conference in London with the chief of, or the government minister for mining or whatever, right? And the DA, the Democratic Alliance, the opposition party was there, this white guy was there asking these questions and so on, and afterwards they were like, all right, we're all off to the pub together. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Well, and then I'll go even deeper then and say that I published a book about my time in Angola because I was in these big tank battles in 1987. Yeah, and then when I published the book here in London, people came to me afterwards and said, you know that the Americans and the Russians, we knew the Americans were on the ground, and we all knew that the Russians were funding the Cubans to do what they were doing. So, but the Russians and Americans, the Russians and Americans were getting together with the South Africans and the Angolans in a hotel room in Luanda to talk about battles, to talk about staging, to talk about coordinating events and so on. Yeah. So I was involved in a battle. That was a huge military victory. We destroyed a brigade in one day, 47 Brigade in one day, 2,000 men and 3 squadrons of tanks. And that wasn't meant to happen. But so what happens is we go on a lull for about 7 days. The enemy, we'll call them the enemy, is 4 brigades strong. We're 1 battalion. There are 12 times stronger than us. We knock out one of those brigades, and we want to chase after the rest, but our commanders are saying, nope, you can't move now. And now, after the fact, I realized, shit, we weren't meant to do that. The whole of these conflicts, they want minimal losses nowadays, but they want the conflict because the bankers are selling the military hardware, the governments are able to exercise control. Well, I mean, you look at the Muslim sort of terrorist problem that they have nowadays, so-called. It is such a license to print legislation day after day to control people. And so no matter whether it's Jeremy Corbyn or the clown with the fuzzy hair, Boris Johnson, I've been watching him for many years, actually. You're going to get the same kind of, ultimately, the same travel. Look at America. I mean, Obama was meant to be the change, but did he close Guantanamo Bay? No.
He was a much better speaker, orator than
Oh, yes.
the current man.
Yeah.
And as you know, Trump has got an ego as big as Mexico. But
Yeah.
he's got things done. That's why people are voting for him.
Well, I'm going to offer you something else, and I'm really challenging your paradigm again today. But what if I was to suggest to you that Adolf Hitler in 1938 or 39 was awarded the Times Man of the Year award for what he'd done to Germany, turned Germany into a,
especially by certain groups in America and specifically in the UK, including royalty and the autocracy in America.
And the George Bush family was funding him, their banking.
And the Warburg Bank, based in Berlin and New York, did business together. They gave Hitler his nitrates, which he required
for his planes.
Shipped in neutral ships from the Atacama Desert in Chile to neutral Turkey, which was chucked into Bulgaria, Bulgaria, and then to Germany. I have a friend, and he had a girlfriend. She was a little girl in South Africa in 1960 at the time of the Sharpeville massacre.
Oh, yeah.
It's on April. She looked out of the letterbox. I watched the massacre.
No way.
And she told me, well, she's a grown woman, about 16. She said most of the police shooting black people were black.
Wow.
People don't understand.
Yeah, they're getting told that.
Black police have just come since this new system.
Yeah.
Not true.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of white police as well, but a lot.
Yes. Well, I mean, the only way, in any country you go to, say, for example, in Africa, there has to be people from the local populace who are in the positions of power. The same is true, apparently, with Hitler's Germany. Apparently, there were Jews at high-ranking major and general levels within his...
social history class, we're doing Nazi Germany.
Really?
I studied many years
Okay.
anyway.
Yeah.
And the teacher became a great friend of mine. And he points to military history, which is my expertise. But he says to me, do you know, I didn't know this, but Jews got treated so
badly in Poland in the 30s.
Yeah.
They went to Germany to get better.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt. I belong to the school of thought that says that part of World War II was designed to unseat the Jewish people from their homes so that many of them would go to the new Israel.
Very nice. Very good theory.
It's just a theory I support. That idea that how do you populate a new country called Israel when people love their Germany, they love where they lived, and people were doing very well. The Jewish people were doing, but in the 30s, yes, they started to demonize the Jew and to try and unseat them. So this is what I think that the concentration camps were partly about, was to try and say, right, you've got nothing now. We've taken everything. You've lost it all, but we'll give you a free home if you go to Israel, and set you up in a job.
They helped them get out of Germany.
Yes.
Yes. Anybody who's ever been to
Yes. And now they've been helping Muslims to get into Europe. So it's an interesting way of switching and creating another target, if you like, or another friction, a left-right rubbing up against each other.
Definitely manipulated.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Nothing spontaneous.
Yeah. So I would. Yeah. Okay. So I would offer you, Bob, that Donald Trump's name apparently his original name is Drumpf. I don't know if you've come across that. It's a German name, but he changed it for various reasons. But that Donald Trump is supported by the same Jewish backers, financiers, that have been sort of in the back room with a lot of the stuff that's gone on in the world. So I belong to a school of thought that says that Donald Trump, when he was given the TV show The Apprentice, it was to create the voter recognition in America, because the voters in America and here are very much swayed by what they see on TV. So to think that Trump is this master financier, he's going to do great things, even though he's gone bankrupt himself a few times and therefore needed bankers to bail him out. Now what they do is they say, all right, now we've retarded things under Obama. Now we'll let the reins out a little bit. I mean, they do that here with the time when Labour went out of government last. They wrote a note. This was to irritate people. We wrote a note and said, we've spent all the money. We're poor now, or whatever. But it turns out that money now, since 1972, has not been backed by the sterling or by the gold or anything. So it's just paper down at the printer. It costs them just the cost of the printing to create money.
They tell me if you do get a mortgage, they just type out the figures, which
Yeah.
you never have.
Yes.
And you pay interest on a bunch of computer fees.
And the mortgage or the loan is backed by you, by your credit. So they don't need any money in their bank. What they need is your credit and your promise to pay that back, plus usury, plus the usury, which is, again, it's a slave tax that we all have to pay. So the entire system has been designed so cleverly that I would suggest to you that all of our politics is planned, decades in advance. Obama was set up decades in advance.
Substantially go along with at least 75%.
Thank you, Bob.
You're a very personal man. You're sort of a coach.
Thank you. Yeah. Actually, because I published this book 5 years ago by a British publisher called Hellion, I did some veteran stuff. Ended up marching past the Queen on Remembrance Sunday and getting near Prince Philip and giving Harry a copy of my book and stuff like that. So this is the orbit that I came into just briefly, and then I realized that I came across a different version of 9/11 than the one that I'd learned from the National Geographic channel, and this is where I started to lose friends, Bob, to be honest with you, because I started to say things that were very unpalatable, that it may not simply be that we are buffoons in government, but that these buffoons are given, there is a hidden hand that is creating events. So, for example, I'll give you the Vietnam War and the Gulf of Tonkin event. The Gulf of Tonkin event is admitted by the American military to have been a false flag attack. Have you done, as your part of your history, have you looked into how some of these...
About the South China Sea.
No, Gulf of Tonkin is, I don't think that's South China Sea. That's right in Thailand. That's what they suggest is that PT boats, the story was PT boats attacked this American ship, and then that sparked the Vietnam War. Decades later, they finally admitted they'd attacked themselves in a false flag event.
This is like the SS Venture, that was Polish.
Yes.
On the border, created the incident
Yes.
promote to invasion of Poland.
Yes.
They had to give themselves a reason.
Yes. So if you can get a Muslim guy, for example, to do something bad here, then you can use that as a piece of media propaganda, even if he doesn't know that he's a patsy to that event. So it turns out that 9/11 was a false flag too, and that people may have died, but the authors of that event were not 19 Muslims and Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden's family turned out to be friends with the George Bush family once again.
It's all something very, very critical. I mean, it's like the Princess Diana.
Yes.
What actually happened?
Yes.
A lot of people, the conspiracy theorists say that there was no way she was going to be allowed to marry.
Yeah.
and there was a lot of things coming up. Well, security guard.
Yes.
Heard of it, he talked a bit and just shut up.
Yeah.
Paid off.
Yeah.
I think they're either paid off or shut up terms with the boy in there.
Okay. Okay. Well, what if I was to offer you something deeper, or something, another layer possibly on that, Bob?
I've lived all over the world. I'm extremely open.
Okay. So when Diana died, I was working at Victoria Street, and I was deeply moved by the Diana death. I used to go down to the palace and walk around. In fact, when the Queen came down, there was looking at the flowers famously that one day. I went down and saw the Queen.
But I've never seen flowers like
yeah,
that.
Kensington Palace. Went there. Yeah, miles. It was unbelievable. Yeah, fantastic, right? And I was so caught up in that. We had friends come over and visit. I took them out on tours around the place and so on. I was really caught up by that. Then I started looking into conspiracies, and I heard the story that when you look at how long it took her to get her out of the tunnel, all these things. When you look at you start to think, yes, maybe it's true. Yes, and why didn't the speeding car get anyway, I won't go into the details, but to say that I started to think, shit, maybe it's true. Maybe the Secret Services or some secret hand bumped her off. And that was where I was at a few years ago. But now I'm at the thought that if, as Oscar Wilde or someone has famously said, that all the world's a stage and all the players are but actors. Shakespeare, sorry, thank you. So if that's true, then Donald Trump and Tony Blair and Princess Diana are actors, and that when JFK has to be removed from stage, you use a prop or a dummy, you blow the head off the dummy, because I've been right in front of someone who's had their head blown off in real life with a very high-powered weapon, and it doesn't look like the JFK killing. And so then I go, shit, maybe they didn't have to kill JFK or Diana, but they have to remove them from the picture. So whether that means they give them a new identity completely, or there's some island that these people can be taken away to, but if they know that they're here playing a role, then eventually, even a Saddam Hussein, I'd offer to you, even a Saddam Hussein might be, they say, listen, you've done your time, you've given us the bad guy, the enemy that we needed, thank you very much. Now we are excused, we're going to assassinate you, or a patsy, and then you can go and live richly. This is the deal. So I'm just offering you that as another potential layer, that the deception might be even cleverer than that they don't have to kill you, they just have to away you, get rid of you. And that might well be what, I know that requires for, say, Prince William and Harry to be told at some point that, listen, your mom's not dead.
And it used to be a black and white.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Politics. Thank you. There is a conspiracy. Never know. But in these days with the internet and instant communication, more people are aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. Did you ever look into the Titanic as a potential? Yeah, because there was another ship called the not gigantic. She had a sister ship, and the sister ship had a bad accident, broke her spine, and they never did a full test on her afterwards. And there's a story that goes that they sank the sister ship because to change the names between the two ships is very easy. They look almost the same, one whole different, something like that. Anyway, that's just an aside. But I wanted to because I know you don't have an endless amount of time, but I wanted to tell you something that I've gone through in my journey. I'm 51 years old now, and I up until the age of 46 had become quite cold-hearted, atheistic in my outlook because of the science that I believed in, and so when I found out that 9/11 wasn't done as it says on the National Geographic Channel, I started looking at other things, and I found the pineal gland, which is in the center of your head, your third eye. And I had, just by chance, on a book tour in Johannesburg, an old friend from 20 years before introduced me to a substance called DMT, or dimethyltryptamine, which is created in the pineal gland. You can smoke this stuff, and in 5 minutes, I found God. And I'll tell you how, because I was totally awake, but transformed, that I could see everything as a waveform. Everything was just electromagnetic. The trees were pulsing with electricity and so on. So it set me off on a whole spiral of research into the electromagnetic universe theory. And the sort of headline is that we might be in some sort of electromagnetic torus field, energy field. This around us is an electromagnetic ether, as Tesla suggested. David Icke. I go much further than David Icke. David Icke he's into aliens and other sorts of creatures and so on. I'm not really into that. Yeah, of course. You said you were 70. You're 76, did you say?
76 December.
Well,
you're amazing for your age.
Thank you. Well, I've learned some secrets that I'm more than happy to share with you before we leave today. One of them is that we should be distilling our water. We should be recleaning our water, because rainwater is distilled water. It's pure water, and it has like a negative charge. So when you drink that, it's sort of looking for dirt to suck off.
I've seen these programs on water. You can get a picture of the signature on the top.
Right. Yeah. Well, in the electromagnetic theory, everything is simply an energy or a waveform, a vibration, if you like, and our human decoder decodes this world, the vibrations, as hard things or trees.
I try to tell people about quantum mechanics. Look, this is structure, this is vacuum, we're mainly vacuum. On the scale of the atom, take a hydrogen proton, proton nucleus, which is like 100,000. The electron, which consists of the other part of the atom, is 11 kilometers. I'm a vacuum talking to a vacuum. So the universe consists of nothing. But it's still amazing.
Well, science says I think 97.5 or 98.5% of everything is dark matter, and they can't see it.
The science can explain about 96% of everything, but there's 4% that's elusive.
Right.
And I think quantum mechanics has put them on a backward track actually, because it's really not so dead.
Yeah.
If you get scientists, you probably know this, if they actually concentrate on subatomic particles, they can make them move. It's like a prayer being answered. You know? And this is why a lot of prayers, when practiced by masses, actually come through.
Yeah, we can influence. The vibration that. Yes. A signature. People have done. There's a Dr. Emoto who's famously done experiments where he freezes water. In one jar, it's water that he's been nice to, and one jar, it's water he's been angry to. And the ice crystals are misshapen in the angry water.
I've actually seen this on TV as well.
And you can do it with rice as well.
There's an American lady physician, a doctor of quite a number of years, in the 40s. And she was invited out to Australia. She visits Aboriginals. I lived with her for a while. And she went out to this place and got hold of the local medicine man, and she saw them holding a broken limb and chanting a mantra.
Wow.
And it cured. And she was so blown away getting a crystal. So she went back to the States and rewrote half the text.
Wow.
It actually works.
Medical industry doesn't want you to know that.
No.
No, Bob, that's a big profit-making industry, and a cancer industry is another one of those, actually.
I have to take a pill for atrial fibrillation every day. If I don't, I will die.
Yeah.
My heart will go out.
Wow.
It doesn't restrict my life. I don't like being on medications, but in this case I have to.
Yeah.
But as you say, there's a pharmaceutical industry as well, which is...
The pharmacological, and it really kicked off in the early 1900s when they realized that with petrochemicals and the advance of chemistry, they were able to start making things that would attend to certain pains and aches and so on. And back then, of course, everybody was using natural medicines, including cannabis, actually. And cannabis is one of those things where they've shown, people are talking about on YouTube all the time about how cannabis is curing their cancer.
In India, South America,
Yeah. So there's been a demonization over the last century of medicines from nature versus the medicines of the drug thing. There's a school of thought that goes that all cancers are curable, but the medical industry will never, ever cure cancer.
I think my own idea is that the human body consists of cells. All of nature consists of molecules and atoms. And at the molecular level, everything at the molecular level is sort of intelligence.
Yes, we agree on that.
Now, I believe, or so I'm told by medical professors, that there are quite a few trillion cells in the human body.
Yeah.
Not exactly and each of these cells is having a conversation with every other cell. So you're looking at trillions of conversations. And if you think good thoughts, if you have pure thoughts, and are not concerned with envy, greed, and lust, all the rest of it, I believe it actually conditions these cells to make you healthy. That's what I believe.
People are doing a rice experiment where they take a jar of rice. I think it's wet rice, 2 jars. One, again, they're angry with, and the other they love.
This one, no.
Well, many people are doing this. Hundreds of people are doing this online now, and the unloved rice goes black very quickly. The loved rice stays clean much longer. So yes, at the molecular level, if you can say that, then I think that everything is water, and water is so intelligent. You know, every drop of water is carrying, I think as we were saying earlier, it's carrying a lot of information, and you can pass good information through your water or through your DNA, as they call it, or bad information through your DNA. And when it comes to the body and us being mostly water, if you think about you as a swimming pool, because you're mostly water, then if you let a swimming pool stagnate for a while, it'll go green, and that algae is essentially what cancer is, and that algae gets carried away.
It's a sort of a toxic substance which is spread at cellular level.
Yeah, and that's influenced by things you eat, things you breathe, or how you think, is what you consume with your eyes and your mouth and your brain. And you know, this is very much and so this is what I'm trying to do, despite the various challenges of this world that we live in, is to try and find that more kind of happy, balanced, loving place to be. Because if I carry stress around with me, if I carry anger around with me, negative thoughts around with me, that's going to hurt my health in the long term, I think. Short-term
cancer of the tonsils was, my mum died and I was nursing on the stepfather. I didn't particularly like it, but fellow human being. And I woke up one morning with a lump there, and I went to the doctor, and it turned out to be tonsil cancer. I saw the physician in Brighton. I'm living in Eastbourne.
Okay.
And he said, nothing to do with your lifestyle. You're a good lifestyle. It's not genetic. It's simply a virus related to this female virus. It's called a P17. It's just bad luck. And in 1900, in the year 2000, we had 4,000 cases in the UK. And this year, 2014, we've had 22 cases.
Wow.
So so we get a bit worried.
I call it a tsunami of cancers. Yeah. And you're saying of that specific cancer that you're referring to?
Anyway, I didn't need any chemo.
Wow.
It's still sore. It takes 10 years to get
Wow.
sore.
Wow.
And numb.
Yeah.
That's a lot. This was all, you can see, burst open again. Oh,
wow.
Anyway, it's,
wow.
I didn't need any chemo. I'm going to go for a test on this August, and that will be the last one. And then I'll go every 2 years, 4 years. That's it. I'm very happy with that.
If I can offer you this thought that doctors are saying that cancer cannot survive in the absence of carbohydrate, in the absence of sugar. Cancer will thrive where there's sugar. Yeah. So returning to a sort of more alkaline state, because our bodies are often very acidic with our lifestyles, but sugars and an acid environment is the perfect hotbread. And then, of course, add stress of a lost loved one and that kind of thing.
So you're saying sugar is good?
Sugar's bad. Sugar's good for cancer. Yeah, it feeds on it.
Well, I'm actually not much sugar. I've never taken sugar into coffee. And I eat very, very little sugar.
Yeah.
I do eat some. Good. I don't eat chocolate or sweets or something like that.
Yeah.
I have Danish pastry, which is got a batter in it. It's a chef, you make the sugar, you make it better. So a Danish pastry is made with white fatty pastry that it doesn't have that sugar.
Right.
Sugar is the enemy more than fat, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, agreed.
That's only from what I've read.
No, I agree with that. We need fat. In fact, we need cholesterol.
Sugar, they wonder what they get sick.
Yeah, we need cholesterol. You know, our brain is mostly like fatty body, and all of our cells apparently they need a little bit of fat in them, a little bit of cholesterol, a little bit of
Here's this thing here. It's less than a tenth of a square foot, they tell me. And physicians tell me it's as big as a man's clothes.
Right.
It's the most complex structure in the known universe.
Yeah. When I did the DMT experience, this pineal gland business, right? I didn't know anything about it. Yeah. Well, in the 5 minutes or so that I was in this experience, and I wasn't prepared for this. I didn't know, and it wasn't like I was having a fun time. It was reverential. It was a very proper ceremony that the guy put me through to get to this state, and then have the smoke. And what I learned, Bob, was that actually all knowledge resides in me. All human knowledge resides in me. But perhaps it's rather the other way around. Is that I'm connected to all human knowledge.
An iPad.
Yeah, or like a Wi-Fi.
Which actually,
of the cloud.
Of the universe.
Yeah, there's like a cloud of information out there, and all the time I'm contributing to it, and able to draw into it. People call it the Akashic record. Some people call it that. But sometimes our thoughts, for example, we think it's coming from inside of our brain, but perhaps it's being drawn in from the Akashic record or the cloud.
Something which is similar. I went back to New Zealand.
Do you want some water?
No.
Yeah.
In January 2017, for a holiday. I hadn't been there for 33 years.
Ah.
I said this to me, what's it cost?
33.
Oh, things changed eventually, but when I came home, sitting there in the April, a thought just came to me. I thought, how old Jim Barnes is getting on? He was an Air Force buddy, you know?
Yeah.
And I had no family there. He was related to his brother Bruce, who had a family, had Sunday dinners and all that. Bruce was he worked as a ground steward for New Zealand, but he was an amateur wrestler.
Okay.
Bruce Bronco Barnes. And often his brother was very, Jimmy, my friend, was very proud. You should see him in the YMCA.
Fantastic.
How he's getting on. It just came to, so I typed in
Bronco.
Amateur New Zealand Wrestling Federation. Yeah. Immediately came up. We lost a great man of the 70s. Bruce Bronco Barnes died yesterday.
Wow.
That's an Akashic thing.
That is definitely. Wow.
So then I thought, I wonder how Faye Dizovich is getting with a girlfriend of mine. And in like a lot of relationships, she was the only woman I understand that was totally in love with me.
Right.
I liked her.
Yeah.
I loved her. I may love her, but I wasn't in love with her.
Yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
So I googled it, and she died in the April. So she was still alive when I was in.
Wow. Wow.
And that is amazing to me. That's just amazing.
Yeah. Well, what I got from this DMT experience was this real connection. And I was an atheist up until this moment. My dying mother, 2011, couldn't get me to accept that there was something more. But this transformed it all for me, and I realized that we're all connected actually, and that the more we can strip away all the layers of complication that's been given to us by the system, the closer we can perhaps get to returning to that oneness of spirit. That oneness.
I don't believe in the human God.
No.
I believe in the power behind the universe.
Yeah. I think the conception of a God is confusing and so on. But
how can you explain something that's always existed and hasn't been?
Yes, and is omnipotent, all powerful, all. But that's what I got this true sense that we were part of something, huge.
Well, it's like a person that says, what about the end of the universe? Yes, but what's behind that end? The end of the universe? What's the other?
Yeah, if there is that, there must be something that it's traveling into. If the universe is expanding, what's it expanding into?
I met a young man here, quite a few years ago now. It was an engineer on that Hadron Collider thing.
Oh, yeah, LHC. Yeah. CERN.
And I said, can you answer me a question? He said, all right, Robert, what is it? I said, well, something that I've thought about ever since I was about 6. What existed, if you subscribe to Big Bang, what existed before the Big Bang? So before he could open, I said, no light, no heat, no matter, just a freezing cold dark. He said, no, we can't say that. I said, why is that? He said, because we had no laws of physics. Which is so true.
True, yeah. No laws of physics. Yeah.
But I also subscribe to the multiverse. An unlimited amount of bubble wrap, each bubble being a universe. Going on into the people that have got very small minds.
Yeah. You're obviously a very open-minded guy.
A big figure,
yeah.
I'm also a poet.
All right.
Not much good ending. I did a 5-year engineering apprenticeship. There was no good ending.
But you're a good chef. You're a good chef.
Not bad, but my forte is writing. I'm a poet.
Any poetry you can recite for me now?
Yeah. I've got an Aussie one if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
This is called New South Wales, which is a state in Australia. I had a funny vision in my London bed one night. I dreamed I trod a land where the air was clear and bright. The iron bark, the stringy bark, the blue down trees do grow, where the kookaburra sings and the murrumbidgee flows, where the stunning rays of noon contrast an icy black, the freezing desert night across the wallabies, where a weird and wonderful race of men once lived with my friend and companion the earth, and whose corruption inspires much mirth amongst the side, where crazy pink grey villas, the doom the sagging boulevards, and the blue-tongued lizard seeks a warm academy before the evening. There can be no deceiving on that vast brown continent whose run-soaked beginnings bring shame and embarrassment to the well-heeled historian, but I care not for those ancient giants. I love the state. You.
Love that, Bob. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I love that. You know, it's been a thoroughly enjoyable conversation. I've been holding one card in my back pocket that I haven't wanted to play because when I play this card, it oftentimes causes people to kind of see me in a different way. So my Christian upbringing had me believe that I was not worthy to eat the crumbs from under the table of God or Jesus.
Well, you were born in England.
Yes.
And you went to South Africa.
Yeah, 6 months old.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So you're virtually.
Yeah. So but my parents were like in the Anglican church, sort of high sort of.
Strong.
Yeah. I was even an altar boy. You know, I'll carry the candle or whatever. You know, help the vicar with his wine and all that stuff.
We never had anything like that.
Yeah, I went through all of that.
Sunday school to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Went there twice. I don't believe in that.
Yeah. Well, I actually used to say to the preachers, like, you know, that the Bible says the earth is flat. You know, it's like it's a stationary, small light, all this sort of stuff. And I was for the science and totally against God. And then I got to a point where I thought to myself, is it possible that we might be a fractal of God?
Yeah.
And that, for me, that was blasphemy a few years ago. But now I got to a point where I think it might be that not that I'm selling any religion, because I think that religion is a control system, but that some of the truths are hidden within those religious texts.
Esoteric Christianity,
Absolutely.
for example.
Yeah. Like, so for me, the story of Jesus might be the story of how you can raise your own self to be a higher being.
Have you ever heard of Gurdjieff at all?
Gurdjieff?
Yeah.
No.
He is a philosopher, dead now. He's born of Armenian Greeks.
Okay.
And he produced a philosophy called the fourth way. There were three traditional ways of spirituality.
Yep.
The fakir, who walks on nails, but it's dull eye, doesn't know why. The monk in his cloister, and the yogi.
Okay. Yes.
The fourth way was to continue in life, but study the fourth way of spiritual development. Now, the philosopher Peter Dimamovich Uspensky discovered him in Moscow, where Gurdjieff was living during the First World War. And it was in a drafty autumnal church village, or these villages,
yeah.
Freezing. And it was packed out with people, and freezing, and Gurdjieff was like, he was the lecturer. It was so bored that there was about 6 people left. They all gone, never shot the lecture.
Really?
People that didn't do it. And he said that man is asleep. It has moving centres. There's a sexual centre, actions, all different centres, and they need to be coordinated. Very, very complex. And I read one of his works called Beelzebub's Tales to His Grandson, about 15 volumes.
Can we step back just 2 steps, because that lady's voice is really like, she's really at it.
I read all the volumes in Sydney, Australia when I was living in Sydney, and at the end of it I thought, well, I partially absorbed it, but I really can't. And other people have said they read it.
Yeah.
And that was still not understand.
Right.
And it wasn't meant to, apparently it wasn't meant to be understood, it was totally allegorical. Very different.
Yeah.
Wonderful philosophy.
Yeah, the difficulty with allegory is that it can be misused or misinterpreted.
That's the trouble.
And that's been used to much great effect or great damage to the human story.
Now, I don't know, this is actually, during World War II, he was in Paris.
Yeah.
And he had this villa that he rented on the outskirts of town. Germans invaded, and the Germans came knocking on the door and said, no, this is no requisition. And the officer was very polite and correct and came up to the jeep and said, I understand you were running it's called the Institute for the Harmonious Development of Man. That's correct. Yeah. And he said, well, you're allowed because I'm a member of this organisation in Germany, but don't tell him. And that was amazing because it would have been shut down immediately. And he survived the war and carried on the teaching. Ouspensky, this philosopher, became a great disciple, but Gurdjieff stopped talking to him for about 30 years. And he died not knowing whether it was part of the test of him within the group, within the philosophy. Very interesting, but very, very helpful.
Come this side, Bob. I can't see your face. You're silhouetted by the light, my friend. And you know, your face is so camera worthy. Dan, the police are obviously talking to people about stuff. Who knows? Well, can you spell that? Is it G-U-R?
G-U-R.
Yeah.
J-I-E-F.
Okay, thanks. So it's just for people who might want to go follow up on that.
Georgi, which is George.
Yeah.
He first became interested at school, and there was a certain tribe of boys that couldn't get out of a chalk circle. So the boys would grab a boy and draw a chalk circle around him, and he couldn't get out. And he wondered why, So he went up and he rubbed out a bit of soap in the boy's bed.
Wow.
The last thing I'll say about Gurdjieff, he had a man who was very sick when he was in Paris, just at the end of the war, and Gurdjieff transferred energy to him, and it was a violet light that came from Gurdjieff's head to this man's head. And this was witnessed.
Violet.
Yes. I mean, it looked like a little thing.
Yeah.
And Gurdjieff was so exhausted, he nearly died. But he was slowly recovering. Now, whether that was apocryphal or whether it was true, I'm told it was witnessed, but I stand on it.
Well, we know that in our energy centers, apparently the top ones are purple and those violet colours.
There's a hell of a lot to this Kundalini business.
Yeah. And they say that that Jesus lived 33 years, but you've also got 33 vertebrae in your spine, which is the journey up to the pineal gland, and that you have a fluid that's called cerebral spinal fluid, CSF, which if you nurture that, apparently you can raise this Kundalini, raise this energy, and magnify yourself, your good feeling or whatever. Yes, of the zodiac. Yes.
And of course, when you hear about the loaves and suspicions, this is astrological symbolism.
Yeah.
Pisces and Virgo, the polarities in that, which people were more close to and understood more. But however, Christ, the word Messiah is crocodile fat.
Really?
In the old languages. And Buddha fed the 5,000 with tea and cakes.
Right.
So the whole thing has been warped. I mean,
yes.
The Bible was translated from Aramaic into ancient Greek, then into Old Anglo-Saxon, then Old German, eventually Old. So things get changed.
Yes.
But it does have a lot of truth to it.
Yes. Yes.
It's a bit of knowledge.
It is indeed.
There is no empirical proof of the person who Christ did exist. We'll accept that he did.
Yeah. Well, I don't like to argue as to whether or not the man existed, but I do take from the playbook that there's things that I can learn, and ultimately I think that the Creator wrote the truth on your own, in your own heart, or in your own Akashic record, in your own. So actually, once we learn how to go inside and go within, and so on.
We have a hunger to know.
Yeah.
I mean, some people don't.
Yeah.
Ever since I was about 6, I wondered, who am I?
Yeah. What am I doing here? Me too. My middle name is Robert, by the way. And when I was 6 years old, I cried with my mother and said, is this it? Is this all that there was? And she was unable to satisfy me that there was something much more going on than simply the material thing that I was starting to learn about in school. Because when you're 6 years old, they put you on a globe and they tell you that they start telling you that you evolved. Particularly my age, because I'm a little younger than you, and so they'd already sort of developed this evolution science to a point that I took it on board, and that I was simply a lucky strike, evolutionary lucky strike, and that I came from monkeys and from Africa.
Well, I mean, the so-called youth quake of the 60s was a rebellion against the materialism of the time. Anybody that thinks that materialism is satisfying is completely wrong.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with material goods. It's the identification people have.
Yeah.
My flat got flooded in school the other month. I was thinking that. And I took it quite stoically. And when I phoned up the people that run the place, the leaseholders, what they call the principals, I phoned them up tomorrow and said, well, it's nothing, you're down to you. And they were out there within the hour and sorted it,
Wow.
But someone said, don't you want it? I said, no, interested. If you burger, I don't care, take it all right.
Yeah.
Give it to them.
Yeah. If they needed that much. If they needed that badly, yeah.
If you wanted that badly, take it.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I'm trying to reduce it.
Yeah, me too. Minimise things. Yeah, I almost never lock my car.
I've got a bloody boomerang, and I've got a bloody a Land Rover, which I don't really need.
Yeah.
It's just convenient.
Yeah.
I come up to London, visit friends. I've got a boomerang. I've got an air fryer, a 7-in-1 cooker, a kettle and a bowl thing, a microwave.
Keep it simple.
Coffee maker.
Yeah.
A couple of vacuum, one for the floor, one big one. A computer, an iPad, and an iPhone, and that's about it. Don't need anything else.
Okay.
What do you want?
Well, I've got to play this card. I haven't played it yet, which is that what is your best scientific proof that you live on a spinning ball? Repeatable, like experiment.
The experiment that I live on a spinning ball is that the Earth rotates every 24 hours, and the Moon takes a month to go around the Earth.
How do you know that? I mean, what's the experiment though that can prove that?
I know that this is only what my eyes see.
Okay. What would if I was to tell you that we haven't found an experiment yet that we can empirically measure the Earth's rotation, and that when we see the sun moving, what we're seeing is the sun move rather than the Earth spin? How's that sound?
It sounds as if it's wrong, but I'm prepared to listen.
Okay. Well, I mean, a few years ago, I came across a formula for the curvature of the ball Earth that we live on. And that form of the Earth.
Oh, right.
You see, because we live on a ball, it's got to be bending around to create that ball shape.
Yes.
Do you agree? So, and it's mostly water, 70-odd% water. So when we look at the blue marble shot from outer space, we know that that's bending water. Earth's gravity is causing a bending of water. Well, more than tides, because tides is just a 10-foot swell up and down. But the actual curving of the water to create like a ball, how do you measure that? And the formula that we've been given by maths science is 8 inches in a mile squared. So over 10 miles, you've got 10 times 10, which is 10 squared, which is 100 times 8 inches, which is 800 inches, or 60 foot, or thereabouts, 66 foot. Now, if you were in Eastbourne and 10 miles away from Brighton, and you stood on the beach in Eastbourne, you shouldn't be able to see anything that was that wasn't as tall as 60 foot, you see, because it's meant to have bent down from you. But on a clear day, I know you could go and stand on the beach, on one beach, and look 10 miles with binoculars or whatever, and see the quay, the harbour, all the stuff, the street lights that are on the beach front. You can see all of that. When we extend that consideration and go across the English Channel at 20 miles, we should be at 300 foot of curvature, but we can see the beaches of France. I've been in Tarifa in Spain and seen Morocco, for example, a good number of miles over the water. And of course we know that the Suez Canal is joining two oceans, and they reckon that the tidal drop between those two is about 9-12 inches. That's the only drop between those two. If there was a drop bigger than that, they would need to put some kind of damming or a lock system in to prevent the water from flooding from the high point to the low point.
Yeah.
So when you consider that Earth is water, mostly water, and water is always level, that's what we say. We say water level and we say sea level, Bob. I realized that after a few weeks of thinking this through, that there was no example in my mind that I could satisfy myself with, that I could see that loss of buildings, or that loss of structures, or that loss of beaches or mountains or anything off in the distance, other than for perspective. Obviously, the higher I go, the further I see, the lower I go, the less far I see. We all understand that about perspective. But to measure curvature, now we've done laser experiments over bodies of water. We know that a lake 50 miles across is going to be, the beach is going to be the same height on this side as it is on that side. But 50 miles is some 2,000 feet of curvature on a ball Earth that's 24,900 miles in circumference. So the uncomfortable, unpalatable kind of conversation is that what if, well, the Bible is right, and it says that God is just directly above us, or the Creator. I'm not trying to flog God, but the Creator is here, and it's all here. There's a thing in science called the WMAP. They do it every year. It's an electromagnetic background radiation scan that they do, NASA or the science people do, and they say that, curiously, Earth is always at the center. They always find that Earth is, well, what if Earth is at the center, and you are at the very center of this creation, and that when you look at the sun, you're looking at your own iteration, your own interpretation of that light, which is why you can stand on the beach at Eastbourne and have the sun rays at sunset come to your feet, and a friend in Brighton will say, no, but the sun rays are coming directly to my feet. You know, we're each seeing our own encoding of that. So what makes much more sense to me is that when I fly through, say, 1,000 feet high, I go through a cloud bank that when I look out around me, Bob, is perfectly level.
Yeah.
And that when I allow for gases to settle into the upper atmosphere, they settle in strata, in levels. Hydrogen and heliums and so on at the top levels. They're not once they're settled, there's no wind blowing. They're settled in strata. As we do when we go deep sea diving, we find that the water gets colder in strata as we go down, and denser in strata as we go down. So sea level, ocean level, I'm saying that we might be living on a plane, an infinite plane perhaps. To go back to your multiverse idea, perhaps what they're hiding from us is that there is land infinitely far away in an east and west direction, but if you travel
if you travel north and south of the equator too far, the sun dips too low on your horizon to afford you any warmth, and therefore everything gets cold and frozen and frigid the further north or south that you travel. It's just obviously now I'm talking in theory, but what I can measure, or what I can say for sure is that every test that we do for water finds it to be level. We live on a body of water. We scientifically can't show any spinning, and those experiments that we're trying to find that spinning in the 1800s, they've been buried and shelved. And they can be found, you know, Airy's failure and Michaels and Morley and Sagnac, they were doing all these experiments in the 1800s trying to prove that the Earth was moving, and all they could find was a small turning, a slow rotation. Now, the sky, I think, is turning, which is why you're a man of the zodiac. You were mentioning the 12 zodiacal signs earlier on. Those 12 signs, Bob, have been the same position for the last thousands of years of human recorded history. But if they are millions and trillions of miles away, all moving away from the Big Bang, which was given to us by the Catholic Church, then there should be, I keep forgetting the word, but if you're on a train and you've got the lamppost flying past you, but in the distance, it's more than perspective. It's you know how things are as we move through these trees. If we had to move the trees further away, would sort of move slowly, but they'd interfere with each other as you move. I keep forgetting the name of that. Yeah, I wonder if someone can remind me what that word is. But I think I've lost my stream. But I'm going to just